YouTube. So today we're going to be back at it again, reviewing a video of Kristi Burke, wonderful Kristi Burke. And she put out a video a few days ago titled 12 Radical Teachings of Jesus that American Christians Have Abandoned. So the reason we're going to review this video is to not get into the hypocrisy of these people, atheists, liberals, Democrats, the woke lefts, whatever name you want to call all these types of people. We're not really going to get into the hypocrisy of people like that because there's just so many channels. I mean, name any conservative YouTube channel like The Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh and Steven Crowder, Charlie Kirk. All these people, they'll go to college campuses or they'll do video clips of how hypocritical these liberals and Democrats and whatnot are. I'm going to try my best to stay away from the hypocrisy of people like this because, quite honestly, it's just too easy and not very interesting. This video is like Young Turks, Kyle's Kislinski and Secular Talk, just level dumb Democrat, liberal, leftist stuff. Obviously, just narrative pushing nonsense from a channel that, just a few days ago was under 80,000 subscribers. Now she's over 80 plus thousand subscribers. So I'm sure the algorithms aren't pushing her or anything like that for her approved messaging. But that's not, I'm going to try my best to not get into the hypocrisy of people like this. It's going to be hard, old habits die hard, because that's not what's really interesting. These people are massive hypocrites. They're just, it's almost a cliche at this point. But what I really want to focus on is the level of projection from people like this, the level of projection that people like this have against Christians, right-wingers, conservatives, Republicans, on and on and on. They project so much nonsense onto us that they themselves either believe or, their actions and their beliefs and how they treat people and things like that and what they think about the world, they project all of that nonsense a lot of it onto Christians and the right wing. So that's what I really want to focus on this video, is just the level of projection with people like this. Because these people, it's all over the place. Their ideology, their belief system and their ideology is just so incoherent and nonsensical at this point that, again, it's really not that interesting reviewing videos like this. This is probably going to be my last video review of Kristi Burke because, this is just low IQ crap. It's just low IQ nonsense. But what I want people to try to focus on is how she's projecting her anger, anxiety, and worry that she has about Christians, Christian nationalism, the right-wingers, Donald Trump, Republicans, their policies, their belief system, how she projects all of that anxiety, anger, and frustration and worry onto people like me, where I'm not worried. I'm not anxious about a lot of this kind of stuff. I've actually enjoyed having a front row seat to the just collapse of civilization and watching the pendulum swing, because the pendulum is swinging. It's swinging back towards traditional values and the right and all that kind of stuff. But there's so much projection in this video that it's just crazy, because these people are, they'll sit there and say, well, Christians are the science denying crazy people, but then they're the same people who promote the fact that a man can be a woman and a woman can be a man. That, your chromosomes don't determine your sex or gender. And then they start playing word games or, definition and word games with gender means this. And it's just complete nonsense, and they'll project the fact that, religious folks are really angry and unhinged. And again, we're science denying crazy people and just a bunch of fools. But then, just to give you a few examples, these are the people that pass for atheist liberal representation in the mainstream. I mean, these are going to be some mainstream examples, but just to really hammer home the level of projection that Kristi shows, here's Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Listen to this.
Democrats, wake up! Wake up! This guy's talking about executing people. And you're like, well, we wouldn't want to offend Joe Biden. He's definitely going to lose to him. But hey, we bow down to authority. Joe Biden's ego demands a second term. Screw Joe Biden's ego.
I mean, yeah, clearly a well-adjusted, just mature, thoughtful, intellectual, wonderful representative of atheists and Democrats in the left wing that Cenk is. I mean, it's just, here's Jimmy Kimmel like crying like a baby. Just watch this.
For women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO.
I mean, isn't he supposed to be a comedian, like a late night talk show host who's supposed to be funny? I mean, what a depressing. Yeah. So, I mean, just to give you an idea of the level of projection, because Kristi's going to go into how anxious and worried Christians are and all this kind of stuff. But that's literally people on her side that agree with her on all of her just narrative pushing nonsense. But yet we're the ones who are, overly anxious and worried and depressed when in general, I'm just going to go ahead and start this off. According to all types of research, studies generally indicate that individuals with religious affiliations tend to report lower rates of depression compared to those who identify as atheists. Just continuing reading in the bottom, much research indicates that religious people as a group tend to have better mental health than the nons as a group. This is manifest in various indicators, including lower rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, self-harm, on and on and on. I mean, just easy statistics you can look at. But here's a video of wonderful Kristi, Crazy Kristi. Here's her nickname for this channel, Crazy Kristi, projecting all of her mental anxiety and nonsense onto Christians and the right wing. Just that's really what I want people to focus on, is just the level of projection. And so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to try my best to not point out all the just dumb, low IQ, hypocritical, condescending nonsense that she brings up in her videos. It's going to be hard. Old habits die hard, but that's not really what I want to focus on. I'm also not even going to really make a biblical argument. She brings up a couple of Bible verses. Just completely takes out of context, whatever. She doesn't care about context. Otherwise, she wouldn't be quoting the Bible verses. I'm going to try to not even focus on that kind of stuff. I may address it or talk about it, but I'm not going to bring up Bible verses and things like that. But we'll go ahead and get started and see what a good old Crazy Kristi has to say.
Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you don't already know, my name is Kristi, and we are in the middle of a deep dive on Christian nationalism on this channel. And Christian nationalism is this idea that America is a Christian nation and should be run as such. And we have a country full of Christians that believe it is their duty to vote and enact policies and support policies that further their Christian agenda.
Yeah, so automatically there's a bunch of red flags. The fact that, I haven't seen all of Kristi's videos, but she's doing some videos on Christian nationalism, never even gets into the defining certain terms like nation. What is a nation? What constitutes a nation? I've actually done a video on the meaning of words around nation and church and things like that, because a lot of times people use words and don't really understand their actual historical context, because people look at a nation as just simply meaning a country or state. A nation doesn't necessarily have to mean and be synonymous with a country, state, or government. A nation is a homogenous group of people related by blood, culture, language, mythology, religion, things like that. She doesn't even get into that kind of stuff. She just talks about how there's potential racism. Well, why would there be racism? I mean, just doesn't even really get into that kind of stuff. and obviously misrepresents Christian nationalism, but literally one of the points of her whole Christian nationalist type, videos is to demonstrate how America is not a Christian nation. We shouldn't have Christian values, separation of church and state, all that kind of stuff. But in this video, talks about how, well, we have a country filled with Christians who think they should go to the polls and their values and what they want from a government should manifest itself via their voting. Well, Kristi, just to directly address some of your, Christian nationalism and we shouldn't be a Christian nation and all that, wonder why the country has so many Christians, to begin with. There's more of us than there are atheists. That's kind of changing. But why are there so many Christians in the United States, Kristi? Maybe because it was Christians who founded the country and created the country and established the moral ethical system that the larger United States was founded upon. I mean, just to give you one indication of how wrong she can be on certain things as it relates to Christian, how the United States should not be a Christian nationalism, blah, blah, blah. How much Christianity influenced the founding of the United States. And it wasn't just any type of Christianity, particularly Protestantism, not Catholicism, not Eastern Orthodoxy, none of that. It was Protestantism. But look at something like Thanksgiving. I bet a lot of people don't even think about this. What is Thanksgiving? Well, why did we have Thanksgiving? Who started it? All that kind of stuff. Thanksgiving has deep Christian roots and is a day to give thanks to God for his blessings. Christianity has heavily influenced the founding of America. And you trying to radically change that, Kristi, is not a good thing, which is why it's so ridiculous. You think that people wouldn't go to the voting booth and hope that their culture and way of life would be maintained via a government in the same way that you hope all of your values and things get promoted via your voting. I mean, again, I'm going to try to stay away from the hypocrisy in this video, but it is going to be really hard, but I'm going to try to stay away from it.
And I have people every single day in my comments who are telling me the only way to live is to live for Jesus, that America needs to turn back to Jesus in order to get right, in order to be well and happy and progress forward. I don't believe that to be the case, but there are a lot of people who do. And I find that
just why are there a lot of people who do, Kristi? Wonder why that is. Could it possibly be because Christians founded America and established the moral ethical system that we know as the West? I mean, just goodness gracious.
People who are the loudest about making America a Christian nation are the very people who are voting in policies and politicians that are completely antithetical to the teachings of Jesus. And
based on your dumb, low IQ, perverted version of what you think Christian taught.
I feel as though
or what Christ taught.
Many Christian Americans have completely abandoned the teachings of Jesus in favor of political superiority. Now,
I mean, technically, the politics of Christians from a moral ethical system are superior. This doesn't need you need to boast or do things like that. I'm not even talking about it from that perspective, but Christianity helped shape the West and create Western civilization. Kristi's values and liberal values and left-wing policies and just degenerate behavior has utterly destroyed Western civilization and created a chaotic clown show of nonsense that is known as the United States and the West in a broader sense today. So yeah, just from a pure political structural standpoint, my belief system is much better from a society than yours. I mean, just one example would be birth rates. Atheists tend to have much lower birth rates. Where is it? Because I know some atheist is going to be like, no, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I'm an atheist and I have children. Where is it? There you go. I mean, because they're hyper literal children when it comes to so many things. Here's the birth rates. America's most fertile face. You have Mormons, Protestants, evangelicals, Catholics, Jews, mainline Protestants. atheists with a 1.6 level birth rate, below the replacement birth rate. Agnostics even lower. Atheists in general have tanked the birth rates. It's really only religious people who are, especially fundamentalist type religious people, who are having large amounts of children. You people don't in general procreate at a very high level. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Kristi, I think, is a lesbian. That's a sterile relationship. It is in general much better for a society to have future generations and to procreate so that you have a population of people to govern. I mean, just one example.
I am not a Christian. I am an ex-Christian. I'm an atheist. I don't subscribe to biblical authority like.
And you probably think Christ is fake and made up, but yet I'm gonna, in a condescending nature, as if Christians don't know the actual teachings of Christ, the context of it, the totality of Scripture, and deep theological writings on all this kind of stuff. You know, there's never been anyone who's existed like Thomas Aquinas, who wrote Summa Theologica, which would, you know, is not a 200-page, you know, feminist love novel, you know, deep theological, 700 pages of just deep theological thought. So I'm going to sit here and condescendingly, in a jackass manner, talk down to Christians as if they don't know their own belief system. I mean, just the level of condescension from these people is just, it just gets tedious. It gets tedious. It's insufferable after a little while too. So I'll see if I can get through this whole video.
Many people do.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search
on.
engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all,
No.
But the people that do subscribe to biblical authority are insisting that I subscribe to it too.
Just like you're insisting to the people who are Christian, you insist that they adhere to or allow all of your behaviors and values, even though they completely and utterly conflict with tons of religions, not just Christianity.
And there are things in the Bible that I bring up that I don't like, that I think are violent or cruel or unkind or unrighteous.
You're an atheist. You have no good standard justification, objective justification or standard for what is good or evil, what is moral, what is immoral. It's based on your personal preference, which at the moment is whatever mainstream social taboo it is. That's the complete ideology of an atheist simplified very quickly for most of you people.
Righteous and ungodly. But when I bring those things up, Christians come to my comments and they say, you've got it wrong. You're misunderstanding it. And I'm willing to put aside my thoughts about all the icky stuff I don't like in the Bible and just look at the stuff that Christians tell me to look at. Look at the words of Jesus. That's all you got to do. Just follow Jesus. But are modern American Christians following Jesus is what I want to know. So I want to talk about the words of Jesus.
I also want to point out, as we get into, you know, the projection of liberals and people like Kristi, I want you to notice something. My video that I'm doing right now is in one single cut. Pretty much all of my videos, except for one, I think, and I've done multiple. This is the second video I've done on Kristi. I've done multiple videos on Professor Dave and other people. I do videos on YouTube as a side hobby thing that I just find, you know, breaks up the week and just something kind of fun to do. I'm not a YouTuber who does this for a living. I have a job outside of this, and I can sit down because my belief system is so coherent and I understand it so well that I can do a video review in a single cut. And for the most part, I'm not saying I've never misspoke or anything like that. For the most part, I can completely and utterly address someone like Kristi Burke and not have to cut my video and edit it and make sure that I'm talking and everything makes sense and I haven't contradicted myself, all this kind of stuff. She has cut this video already multiple times. You know why? Because she can't sit down for an hour and debate her points. I bet Kristi would I would utterly destroy Kristi in a debate. Because A, she's not an intellectual, not even close to an intellect. Most of these people aren't. I mean, we have a million channels that do this. As if we need another Kristi Burke on the internet. I'm an atheist and I'm going to tell you all the contradictions in Christianity. I'm just going to relentlessly attack Christianity. That's my entire existence on social media and YouTube, like Myth Vision, Professor Dave, Mindshift, Apologia, Kristi Burke. I mean, these people pop out of nowhere. And Kristi has already had to cut this video and will cut this video I don't know how many times because her ideology is so incoherent. And she's so anxious and nervous and just gets so emotional about some of this stuff, like a lot of atheists do, that she can't sit down in a single cut in a 23-minute video, which isn't very long, and discuss these points. You know, I just want you to notice some of this kind of stuff.
Why I feel as though modern Christians have abandoned the words of Jesus in favor of political superiority, and why this gives me reason to reject their initiatives to make America a Christian nation. I'm not Jesus's biggest fan.
Yeah, I'm not going to reject it on the basis of truthfulness or its merits or anything like that. I'm going to reject it on my own narcissistic, skewed understanding of how I think people should live. You know, really, there's something else to point out in this video, that a lot of times people aren't really criticizing Christianity. They're criticizing the followers of Christianity, which are two different things in a way. You criticizing the followers of Christianity is not the same as criticizing the merits of Christianity. You know, just because the majority of Catholics today use birth control does not mean that Catholicism doesn't teach that, yeah, you really shouldn't use birth control. That's not a criticism of Catholicism, because that's really not something Catholicism teaches. That's a criticism of the people who follow it. So the fact that you think Christians are hypocrites and we're dumb and ignorant and we don't do what Christ says is almost irrelevant to your argument, because in this video, she actually says that she's being a bit hypocritical and she's contradicting herself. I should have done this at the beginning, but just so all you Kristi fans and atheists who aren't going to watch my video, you're just going to get my comment section, you're going to downvote it, you're not going to make any points. A lot of you are probably going to use vulgarity and just call names and be like, oh, I just heard you whining, even though Kristi's entire channel is just a giant whine about, about Christianity and Christian nationalism, all this stuff. I want you to understand, Kristi admits this stuff. So before we continue, I should have done this at the beginning, but you need to listen to this. Listen to this clip right here.
I would ask that those people live like Jesus, love Jesus, follow his commands, and vote with Christian values.
You literally just criticize us for not voting, for voting for Christian values.
I'm asking you to do that. And that is very contradictory to things I've said in the past, because I've said, I don't think Christians should take their values to the voting booth. And I actually want to make a video about that. I've been kind of circling some ideas because
Yeah, she's admitting she's contradicting herself in this video, that she's being a hypocrite, even though she's saying that Christians are hypocrites. Here's another clip towards the end of the video. Listen to this. This guy kind of gets into the point of the video, which is projection. Listen to this.
In my position, where I'm coming from, when I look at the country that I'm living in, and I feel very discouraged and afraid and confused by the fact that Christian America has propped up this administration that looks nothing like Christianity and the Christ that they claim. And I'm just pointing that out. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, she's scared. She's nervous. I forgot what are the words that she just used. She said,
where I'm coming from, when I look at the country that I'm living in, and I feel very discouraged and afraid and confused.
Yes, discouraged, afraid, and confused. But she's going to go on later on. Those two clips were at the end of the video, where she's basically agreeing with my premises of how hypocritical she is, how contradictory she is, how, she's projecting all of her, she even says angry, like she's worried about the anger or something closer to the end of the video. She's literally agreeing with me, you idiots, on how she's projecting a lot of her anxieties and stuff onto someone like me. we'll get into that, but I should have done those clips at the beginning because I know there's going to be a ton of atheists who just turn it off after like 3 minutes because they can't handle anybody challenging their worldview because they're in such a secular bubble. But we'll continue.
Fan. There's some things he said I don't like, but again, I'm willing to put that stuff aside and just focus on the good stuff, the stuff that sounds really nice. So let's jump right in. We're going to start in Mark 10, 42 through 45. And Jesus called them to him and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. But it shall not be so among you. But whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus taught Christians not to lord over others, not to have authority over everyone else, but to serve everyone. I don't see the modern
She just cut it again.
Christian, conservative, Republican bubble. I don't see them going out to try to serve everyone else.
Okay, so a couple of things here. Number one, I'm not gonna bring up any Bible verses or anything like that. I'm just gonna quickly address the Bible verse based on her own paradigm, not even getting into the context of what that means or that Bible verse from a Christian perspective, but from her own paradigm because she's a hyper literal atheist. And atheists do this kind of stuff all the time. They're hyper literal. But when it comes to Christianity and Bible verses and our beliefs and stuff like that, but they never apply it to their own belief system. Just to give you a few examples, they'll take verses like that and they'll be like, so you're not to serve or you're not to lord over people. Well, Kristi, if you're being hyper literal and you're not going to provide any other context, he was only talking to the disciples. That statement was only to his disciples. I'm not a disciple of Christ, so it wouldn't apply to me. I'm just being hyper literal like you, Kristi. But these people, so what you just said is irrelevant, even based on your own paradigm and how you portray the scriptures would be irrelevant. But these people are the same people that are like, there's, Christians are, she hints multiple times that Christians are racist. In this video, we'll point it out. But then tons of atheists believe in evolution. Charles Darwin was an atheist. If you believe in evolution, you believe in a form of racism. Charles Darwin was a racist. If race is not a social construct. If evolution is true and different populations of people are separated for long periods of time, they will develop different genetics. That's evolution. But yet, we're the racist, it's even though I believe we're all made in the image of God. Doesn't mean we don't have differences, but I don't believe in genetic hierarchy and superiority. A lot of atheists do, but yeah, they don't apply that same hyper literal stuff to themselves. But even based on her own hyper literal understanding of the scriptures and how she portrays it, it's irrelevant here. It's just, it just gets tedious.
I see them working to make sure that their own lives are secured.
Yes, we can't secure our own lives. And she also talks about how she doesn't see Christians going out and serving people. Really? Let's see here. So she doesn't see Christians going out and serving people. Let me back that up just a little bit. I think it's like right here.
Everyone else. I see else, but to serve everyone. I don't see the modern Christian, conservative, Republican bubble. I don't see them going out to try to serve everyone else.
Yeah, except for the fact that Christians are literally the most philanthropic people by far on earth. Just a few examples. World Vision, massive company that is a humanitarian aid organization. World Vision is a Christian humanitarian organization that works to reduce poverty and injustice around the world. The Salvation Army. Salvation Army is a Christian organization that's part of the Universal Christian Church. It's an evangelical movement that's based on the Bible and motivated by the love of God. All the Santa Clauses that are around everywhere that are trying to collect money for people. Let's see. Where's the God, there's another one that I was going to try to show up. I think it was the Red Cross. The Red Cross was founded by a Christian. I thought I had it pulled up, but I didn't. Literally, Christians are the most philanthropic people by far, and it's not even close. Every church, I mean, my church down the road does all kinds of philanthropy stuff. We serve people in orders of magnitude much more than selfish, narcissistic atheists who don't even have children. Atheists are so selfish and narcissistic, you don't procreate because your birth rates are so low. Because having children, you have to invest time and you got to spend your money on other people and spend your time on other people. And to be a good parent, you got to invest emotion and teaching, and you got to go here and go there and all this. Atheists don't even procreate. They're so selfish and narcissistic. They don't even invest in their own genetics. It's just so stupid.
I see them working to make sure that their own lives are secured, their religious freedom is secured, their goals, their capitalist goals are secured.
Yeah, here's another interesting point. I mean, yes, of course, people don't want to bear out their culture and preserve their traditions and way of life via voting for government. Just like atheist, liberal, woke morons don't want to promote their agendas. And I mean, it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid that you like we shouldn't do that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But these people are so incoherent that they talk about how, oh, capitalism and these evil billionaire rich capitalists, but they're the same people that are like, we don't like rich people and capitalism is so evil because they're so greedy. But very rich capitalist people, but let's dump billions of dollars into the inner cities in certain communities because these poor people need more money and they need more material and wealth. Even though having lots of material and wealth and the very thing that they think is evil, being really wealthy and all this kind of stuff, you want to take the very thing that makes people capitalist evil and greedy, all the money and wealth, you want to do that to underserved communities. I mean, just incoherent nonsense all over the place.
To have authority over all, to be superior to everyone, the best nation in the world. He didn't say exalt yourself over.
Yeah, she also either is lying or doesn't know a lot of conservatives, because she says this, actual right-wing conservatives. There's a lot of conservatives who aren't the whole, like me, who aren't, I don't know that you would classify me a conservative. I'm right-wing. You probably call me a far right-wing dissident or reactionary or something at this point. But I don't think America is the greatest nation in the world at all. I think what we call America today is a clown show of just horse crap nonsense that absolutely should not be pushed around the world. People in the Middle East don't want what we have to sell. Absolutely not. I mean, she either is lying, misrepresenting what she thinks is like modern Christianity in 2025, or doesn't know any actual typical right-wingers. There are not a lot of typical conservatives who are like, oh yeah, we're obviously the greatest country in the world. There's a lot of conservatives that are like, this place is a mess. This place is an absolute mess.
For everyone else in the world, he said serve. And he didn't say serve everyone in America. He said to serve all. In Matthew 7:12, it's
just hyper literal.
It says, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you.
So I lied, YouTube. I had to cut the video because my recording apparatus stopped recording at like 33 minutes. I'm sure, oh God, you said you only had one cut. Okay, 2 cuts. Sorry, 2 cuts to her. I don't know how many cuts of this video. Apologies on that. That was it just stopped recording. I don't know why it did that. But we will continue from her reading the whole golden rule. So we'll go ahead and I'll start her back up.
It says, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. This is the golden rule. do to others what you would have them do to you. So I would ask these conservative Christians who are advocating for discrimination against trans people, discrimination against non-binary people, discrimination against gay people, discrimination against women, discrimination against immigrants. Would you want those people to discriminate against you? Isn't your entire goal to create a nation where you are free to practice your religion without discrimination?
Is it your whole point that my religion and what we believe is to discriminate against other people, so shouldn't I have the freedom to do that? Oh, are you not allowing me religious freedom to discriminate, even though it's just, I mean, just incoherent nonsense as it relates to her paradigm?
And if you don't want to be discriminated against, why would you vote in policies and vote in politicians that want to discriminate against others that don't look like you? Matthew.
There she goes. They don't look like you. The insinuation of racism. She actually kind of outright says it later on in this video.
6:24, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other, or he will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. You can't serve God and money. You get to choose one. You don't get both. But how many Christians have...
Why would you assume I serve money, Kristi, in your condescending, sarcastic, you can't serve both? What, who says we serve both? When we are by far the most philanthropic, giving group of people like ever.
Justified their love of money and things and capitalism and, their love of billionaires in office. They support money. They like money. They want more money. Matthew 6:25, therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life.
Okay, this is where she really starts the projection. This is kind of the point of the video. Sorry we went through that whole first part. It's just hard. It really is hard not to get into the hypocrisy and just the incoherent nature. But this is where she gets into anxious and worry and all this other kind of stuff. And I've already demonstrated with clips from the last parts of this video that she's the one who's nervous and, nervous and worried and all this other kind of stuff about what's going on in the country and all this kind of stuff. So, excuse me, this is where the projection really starts. So where she talks about, being anxious and worry and all this.
What you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body. What you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Listen, I am the first one to understand that we are humans and that we want to survive.
No, we're not. We're soulless chimpanzees. We're not just humans, Kristi. We're soulless chimpanzees in a deterministic world where, it's just our genetics and environment. And our mind is an illusory, emergent property of our brain. None of this is really happening right now.
If it is human nature to want to survive and to be able to afford eggs and afford housing. And right before this election, so many people were claiming that they were not voting for Trump because he was racist or...
There you go. There it is again. They weren't voting for Trump because he was racist, insinuating that she thinks that they were.
Fascist or...
She doesn't know what a fascist is. If she got in a debate right now off the top of her head, could probably not tell you what actual fascism means, the historic context of fascism.
Any of these other things. That's not the reason they're voting for Trump. How dare you say that about me? I'm voting for Trump because I can't afford groceries. My eggs are too expensive. My housing is too expensive. I can't find a job. That's anxiety. And I'm not a Christian. I'm not telling you how to live, and I understand it's human nature, but...
You're not telling us how to live, but you're literally telling us not to vote for our Christian values, but also to vote for our Christian values. I mean, what are you telling us, Kristi? Good Lord. You're just contradicting yourself again. I mean, now I'm not going to tell you how to live, but I'm going to create an entire channel just going against Christianity and, telling us that we shouldn't discriminate, which is telling us how to live, Kristi. I mean, based on your own paradigm, you're telling me how to live, okay? I don't like it. I want to be able to vote for my fascist dictator, God Emperor Trump, okay?
If a Christian truly believes in the words of Jesus, truly believes them, and believes that everything he said is true and you must abide by it, then this is literally saying do not be anxious. Don't be worried about how you're going to afford to feed your kids. Don't be worried about what's going to happen in the government. Don't be worried about leftist woke politics. Don't be worried about Joe Biden and the Democrats. Don't be anxious about your life. Don't even be anxious about what you're going to eat. I've got you.
Christians are so anxious and worried and just so concerned about all these things that literally these are the types of things that Kristi says right here.
Each month. And the reason I made this video was not to rail against Christians or to judge Christians. The reason is so that they can better understand me and my position, where I'm coming from when I look at the country that I'm living in and I feel very discouraged and afraid and confused.
Discouraged, afraid, and confused. Do I sound afraid, Kristi? Or because you're afraid, Kristi, you're the one who's anxious. You're the one who's worried. You're the one who's projecting your nonsense, your mental anxieties and mental health issues and things like that onto me. I'm not worried. Not worried at all. That's why, in general, again, Christians, much research indicates that religious people as a group tend to have better mental health than the nons as a group. This is manifest in various indicators, including lower rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, self-harm. She's projecting. Simple as.
So if Christians really did follow Jesus and believe in Jesus, why are they so concerned about the economy?
Why are you getting so excited right now and talking with your hands and looking off to the side? And, you know, why would you do a 23-minute long video about how concerned you are about Christian nationalism and do an entire series on it? I mean, I'm the one laughing and making jokes and saying stuff. I'm not worried about you, Kristi. I'm not afraid of you. I mean, this is just, I'm not afraid of you people. I literally go on with my life and have children and don't, this is a hobby. This is just some kind of hobby to kind of break up the monotonous, workday and week and whatnot.
Why are they so concerned about what Democrats are doing or what anybody is doing? Why are they so anxious? Again, I'm not a Christian and I don't agree that you shouldn't be anxious. I think anxiety can sometimes be a really good thing. It can be a
Yeah. So who's anxious? We're the ones who are taught not to be anxious. You think it's a good thing. So would that not imply that you're more than likely to bear out anxiety in your life and not me? And not Christians? Who's the anxious one, Kristi?
driving force to help you.
You think anxiety is helpful. So are you the one who's worried and kind of nervous?
But Jesus said it, not me. He said, don't be anxious. Matthew 6:19-21, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be there also. At Trump's inauguration, he had a gaggle of billionaires supporting him. The last person on earth, I would think.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and, those are far right-wing nationalists. I mean, how many conservatives did Facebook kick off over the last decade and whatnot? How much promotion of the message that Kristi preaches has Facebook promote? I mean, just whatever, just irrelevant.
That Christians would want involved in our government is the wealthiest man on the planet. So why are Christians supporting this? Why aren't Christians speaking up and saying, hey, why is our president buddy with the richest men in the world? And why are the richest men in the world influencing our government and politics?
Yeah, I mean, George Soros isn't an extremely wealthy person who influences American politics. Klaus Schwab, the IMF, the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. I mean, what happens in Davos? We're not going to talk about the Great Reset and all the giant conglomerate companies that promote the very thing that Kristi talks about. And I mean, just, oh my God. Again, I'm trying to stay away from hypocrisy. I really am. Focus on projection.
Matthew 23:12, whoever exalts himself will be humbled. Whoever humbles himself will be exalted. I don't even think that one needs commentary. I mean, whoever exalts himself, are Christians not exalting themselves over the entire earth right now?
Yes, that's why there's like 1 billion Hindus in India and like however many Muslims. And I mean, just Kristi is so narcissistic and egotistical that she thinks she's making new arguments as it relates to her criticisms of Christianity. Kristi is so condescending and so just egotistical that she makes statements like, I did a review of one of Kristi's other videos. It was like 7 times Paul contradicted Jesus. And in that video, she had the audacity to say, like, if Christians just read Paul and actually compared Paul to the Gospels and what Christ taught, I think they'd have a lot more questions for him and see, his contradictions and things like that. The level of arrogance you have to make a statement like that, that just, yeah, Kristi, there's not a 2,000-year history of Christians doing exactly that. There's not entire councils where Christians debated what was considered authoritative canon and what wasn't. There's not early church fathers. And I go through, I don't know, like 4 or 5 early church fathers off the top of my head, not church fathers that existed under Constantine or something like that. People like Polycarp and Irenaeus and Ignatius and on and on and on, who were early church fathers who had tons of writings that corroborate the veracity and the historical evidentiary historical writings that corroborate who wrote the New Testament and was Paul a legitimate apostle and all this kind of stuff. As if Christians hadn't done this ad nauseum for literally millennia. And she has the arrogance and audacity to say stuff like this because she thinks she's so smart and she's coming up with all these new topics and just revelations. And oh my gosh, I went through the public education system and I listened to some atheist tell me that, oh my gosh, one gospel talks about these people coming to the tomb at the resurrection of Christ, and this other gospel doesn't mention this, doesn't mention this person, only mentions these people, as if, differences are A, contradictions, and B, make things inaccurate. I mean, it's just so stupid. Oh my gosh. I mean, but the arrogance and ego you have to make an entire channel just in a condescending jackass manner attacking Christians is just, not only are you not humble, Kristi, actual smart intellectual people like yours truly would absolutely humble you in a debate. You exalt yourself as if you're that much smarter than Christians about their own belief system. You would be humbled in a debate with any decently intelligent, fairly well-read Christian. They would destroy you in a debate.
Do they not only try to lord over us in the government, but now they're also trying to lord over the rest of the world? We have Donald Trump talking about expanding American territory. And we have Christians supporting his initiatives, supporting the things he says, voting for him because he says these things.
Yeah, it's not because, we didn't vote for him because of his stance on immigration. Where is this? I mean, you had Venezuelan gangs in places like Colorado taking over entire apartment complexes. And it's not just Colorado. It was like Chicago and other places like that where literally illegal aliens were taking over apartment complexes to the point where this is an article from CNN. This is not from Fox News or from, Breitbart or something. I mean, there's videos of like Haitian immigrants who have committed crimes and things like that. Not immigrants, illegal aliens getting deported that are just like F Donald Trump, all this kind of stuff, just being nasty, violent criminals. Yeah, we didn't vote for them because we're kind of sick and tired of that crap. Not due to hatred of an entire group of people, but yeah, we really don't want that kind of nonsense happening in our country. I mean, it's just literally gets tedious.
That he wants to take over the world because we are the best nation in the world?
Again, repeating the fact that all conservatives and all Republicans think we're the best nation in the world. Not a lot of us are like, yeah, this place is kind of insane. This place is kind of a clown show to the point where, yeah, I mean, if California wants to kind of do their own thing and secede and, us not be a country anymore, I'd be okay with it. Peaceful separation, I'd have no problem with it.
Where in the Bible does Jesus tell you to consider yourself the best, superior? Are you not made from the same stuff that people in the Middle East are made of, that people in Canada, people in Mexico?
Your evolutionary ideology, atheist, tells me that no, our genetics are a little different.
Are they not God's children? Are the words of Jesus not applicable to their lives too? This superiority complex that we have, that Christians often have,
that atheists often have when they can create entire YouTube channels condescendingly attacking Christianity and being so egotistical as to say how ignorant and dumb Christians are. They don't even know their own belief system. And I mean, literally her entire existence is to attack Christianity. I mean, one of her titles, The Manipulative Nature of the Gospel Message, Deconstructing Noah's Flood, Deconstructing Hell, 6 Bible passages Christians often ignore. I mean, just, you think it's your job to attack my entire worldview and belief system. But yet, I'm the one who wants to rule over other people because I care so much about what atheists are doing in California and all. I mean, it's just so stupid.
We are the best nation. That is quite literally exalting yourself. And Jesus says, whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Matthew 5:43 through 44, you have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Many Christians in America have made enemies of anyone who isn't like them. Immigrants are enemies. They're criminals coming over to take over our country.
I mean, literally by definition, a lot of them are illegal aliens, and if they're here illegally, by definition, they are criminals.
Reality, many immigrants are refugees seeking safety from a country that seeks to harm them.
Yes. So being a hyper literal moron like a lot of atheists are, based on your paradigm, anybody that's in a bad situation, in a harmful situation in other countries can come to the United States, thereby collapsing an entire civilization because just billions of people would come here. I mean, just literally collapsing a civilization. Because that's what immigration policies are for, is just anybody in a tough situation, in a harmful situation, just be able to enter your country without, just basically en masse. Yeah, that wouldn't cause any problems. It's not currently causing any problems.
Gay people, trans people, women who want bodily autonomy, these are not
to murder unborn children. Yes, we get it.
The enemies of the Christian, unless the Christian makes them their enemies, which is what happens. I'm a woman. I'm queer. I'm not trans, but I know trans people. I support them. I am an ally. But I am not the enemy of the Christian.
You're not the enemy of the Christian, but literally your entire existence is to attack Christianity. Because we need another, we don't have enough of these channels already. I'm going to try to stay away from the hypocrisy. I'm really trying to focus on the projection.
I do not make myself the enemy. And in fact, I want to have productive conversations. I want to support their religious freedom. I want to work together to live in a world where we all practice our own beliefs or non-beliefs. We all live our own most authentic path.
Under what is approved by you and what is not approved by you. Yes, we get it.
I don't want to be the enemy of the Christian, but the Christian has often made me the enemy of them. And so as their enemy, that they've decided I am their enemy, Jesus says, love your neighbor, or Jesus says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. So if
Why would I'll pray for you, Kristi. I'll pray for you. I'll pray that you'll stop your nonsense. Absolutely. I'll absolutely pray for you and hope that you turn your life around from a horrible lifestyle. I'll absolutely do that. You know why, Kristi? Because I want to be helpful and I want to serve you because I love you.
If Christians really believe that I am persecuting them just by getting online and talking about how I don't agree with their religion, if they believe that I am persecuting them, then it is their job to pray for me and to love me.
Do you know how nice a lot of pastors are who have reviewed her videos? A lot of there's pastors who are like, yeah, I'm going to pray for Kristi. There's a lot of very nice religious leaders who have reviewed her videos. I've been I'm not a religious leader. I am a Christian. I'm going to mock the crap out of this kind of stuff because it's just, it deserves it, you know. But I'll absolutely pray for Kristi. But the idea that there's not consequences for the dumb things that you say is just ridiculous.
How often do we see Trump, religious political leaders, religious Americans, calling out their political enemies and talking about how they want revenge? When have you ever seen Trump suggest that we love our enemies? He makes enemies out of...
When have you ever seen Democrats do that? I mean, when have you ever seen... let's just completely ignore people like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and, you know, people with actual political power who are like, white men are the most dangerous thing in America. That doesn't sound like love your enemy. You know, as if Christians can't like defend themselves and Republicans can't defend themselves. You know, I mean, it's just so... These people are so loving until you disagree with them. It's such projection and hypocrisy. There's a lot of overlap with projection and hypocrisy.
Everyone. He makes enemies out of immigrants. He makes enemies out of leftists, out of people who are quote unquote woke. He makes enemies out of gay people, out of trans people, out of women. But he never suggests that we love them. John 16:33, I have said these things to you that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart, I have overcome the world. If I was a Christian and I truly believed in the words of Jesus, I would have nothing to fear.
The idea that I'm afraid of you and your ideologies and people like you, Kristi, is utterly laughable. I don't know any Christian that is afraid of liberal atheist people. We get annoyed of you. We get annoyed of you because in general, a lot of you are very pretentious. You think you're way smarter than you actually are. And you think it's your job to let us know you're an atheist and how there's contradictions in the Bible and creation is magic and Sky Daddy is so dumb and all this other kind of stuff. And, you know, even though you have no coherent worldview whatsoever, so we're just not even supposed to react to it. But I'm not afraid at all, Kristi. I don't call people homophobes and assume that they have irrational fears and stuff like that. That's because I don't project my feelings about the world onto you. I know you're completely different. You have a completely different worldview. I know you're afraid, Kristi. That's why you thought to make an entire channel about how awful Christianity is. And you literally say things like, you know, I'm just concerned and worried. What does she say? We're going to listen to this clip again. What does she say right here?
And if you want to support me, you can like, comment, watch this to the end, share it. If you want to join as a member, you can do so. It's $4.99 a month. You can pay your Christian tithes,
Yeah, I mean, just sarcasm and condescension. Let's just completely ignore that.
each month. And the reason I made this video was not to
I mean, she cut it again. Good gosh.
rail against Christians or to judge Christians. The reason is so that they can better understand me and my position,
So we could better understand her, which is her position of.
where I'm coming from, when I look at the country that I'm living in and I feel very discouraged and afraid and confused.
Afraid and confused. So who has fear?
I would not fear Satan. I would not fear the evils of the world.
I don't.
I would not fear a communist
I don't.
takeover. I wouldn't fear leftism
Not
and
afraid of it.
wokeism
Not
and
afraid.
gay people.
Not
I
afraid
would
at all.
not fear anything because I would believe that Jesus has already overcome the world.
I'm not afraid, because if I was afraid, I'd be overly emotional, narcissistic, mentally ill atheist who didn't procreate because I didn't want to bring children into the world, which is exactly what a lot of you people are.
So when they say, oh,
But I'm not. I have tons of children. I have a great life, wonderful marriage, lots of kids. I can't wait to wake up tomorrow and just do another video on some ridiculous atheist who thinks they're way smarter than they are.
oh no, Satan is taking over the world. Oh no, America is falling to this leftist agenda. We're all going down. We're collapsing. You are telling me that you don't believe Jesus has overcome the world, that you don't believe the words of Jesus when he says, don't be scared, I've got this. The world is in my hands. Matthew 19:21, Jesus said to him, if you would be perfect, go, sell what you possess and give it to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Come and follow me. We don't want to give everything to the poor. We're giving too many handouts. People are just taking whatever they want, and we're just giving it all away. I don't want my tax dollars going to make sure people have health care. Don't give marginalized people my tax money, is what they're saying. So they don't want the government to take their tax dollars and give it to the poor. But they
I mean, oh my gosh. Already went over all the Christian philanthropy and stuff like that. I mean, it just, again, just so stupid.
won't actually take their money and give it to the poor themselves. They say, no, leave my money alone. It's my money. I earned it. But Jesus says, if you want to be perfect, go sell everything you have and give it to the poor.
Hey,
No.
do you want to see the worst sales presentation ever?
Come on.
Check this out.
Matthew 5:7, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. At this recent church service that Trump and his family attended, where the bishop got up and asked him to show mercy on those who are afraid in America right now.
Which is the Christians, right? Because we're really fearful. We need to be shown mercy because we're really fearful, right? We're the ones who are afraid, according to you, right?
Trump's family was mostly just rolling their eyes.
But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
Maybe they were rolling their eyes because they're not afraid. Because I'm not afraid. Because we're not afraid. Maybe it's because you're afraid, Kristi.
They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples.
And afterwards, Trump said that that pastor was not doing a very good job and he did not like the service and they were very unkind. And all they said to him was, show mercy.
I mean, literally, these people, God, narcissists do this. They think that, like, people don't, normal, above average IQ, down to earth, non-dumb people can see through narcissistic just projection and nonsense. Kristi is the type of person that, like, smiles at you, and with, she's smiling at you as she's, like, basically calling you an idiot. She's smiling at you and, with a soft voice, just being condescending and nasty, but doesn't think she's actually being mean or a jerk. When literally she's so insufferable with her condescension and she's so pretentious. People like this are so pretentious that they think that they're good. They think that they're just the nicest, just most wonderful people. And I mean, they just can't stand getting called out on their own BS. So I'm not going to make it through this entire video because it's just dumb thing after dumb thing. This may actually be the last video I do on Kristi because, I mean, this is just low-level, dumb, liberal crap that just is so uninteresting at this point. I mean, Christians are so fearful and we're so crazy and we're just loony bin idiots, science denying idiots. But then there's like all these videos on YouTube of these liberals just losing it, just going crazy because they lost the election. And it's just hilarious, the level of projection with these people. But anyway, I hope this was kind of fun or, interesting for you. And I appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks.